Growing up in the Virgin Islands, food is more than what we eat. So today I'm going to show you guys how to prepare Virgin Islands beef patty. First things first, you have to get all of your ingredients. So that's your seasoning, your egg, your flour, your sugar, your baking powder, your tomato paste, your peppers, your onions, garlic, your margarine, and your beef. Now you're going to add 3 cups of flour. You're going to do a pinch of salt, 2 teaspoons of sugar, about 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and a full stick of margarine. Now we're going to mix the margarine into the flour, and we're going to do it until the mixture becomes crumbly. Next, we're going to add 1 cup and 1 tablespoon of water, and we're going to mix until the dough gets to the consistency that we need it to be. And basically all you have to do is just fold and knead until the dough becomes a smooth like texture. Now after all that work is done, we finally reach the consistency that we need it to be, and we're going to cover it with a saran wrap and leave it rest. Ensure that you are always washing your produce, and now we could get into chopping and mincing up the garlic, the peppers, and the onions. Now this is where that Caribbean flavor really starts coming through, because the garlic, the onion, and the peppers is like the holy trinity. I personally don't know any Caribbean household that don't have these ingredients on standby. Is there a specific amount that you need? I would just say follow your heart when you're in the kitchen. I don't think that you could have too much or too less, but these really do amp up the flavor in any dish. As you guys can see, I went and I sliced them first and then I diced them. So I'm going to continue the same steps with the red pepper and the onion. There are easier and faster ways to dice your peppers and onions. However, this way feels most authentic to me and my culture. Fun fact, peppers and onions play a significant role in Virgin Islands cuisine, adding flavor and depth to many of our traditional dishes, and its use reflects the island's rich culinary heritage, making all our meals vibrant and aromatic. So if you're scared of a little pepper and onion moment, don't be. I promise you, you won't regret it. Next, we're going to add our oil to our pan, and we're going to start sauteing our peppers, onions, and our garlic. Sauteing these enhances their natural sweetness and flavor, and it creates a tender caramelized texture that will help our ground beef. Now that I've added my ground beef to the pan, we're gonna start breaking it apart as it cooks, and you wanna make sure that the beef browns evenly and becomes small enough that it will fit comfortably inside of the patty later on. This is typically where the entire kitchen starts smelling good, and Caribbean food is known for having bold flavor. So I have my season mix that I made on my own. You could use any seasons of your choice. Just make sure that you are tasting as you go and mixing very, very well. Next, we're going to add the tomato paste. I used about half of the mini can, and we just want to incorporate this really, really well into our ground beef and make sure that the herbs, the peppers, the aromatics, the spices are all working together to give us a flavorful filling for the patty. Now we're going to crack 1 egg, and we are going to whisk it so this can be used as our sealant for our patties. I'm putting down a little bit of flour onto our cutting board. Now that the dough has rested and the meat has cooled, we can start assembling our patties. For this part, I'm basically taking pieces off of the dough that we made and rolling them into balls. I'd say this recipe made us about 9 balls, and I would say the size of the balls are small, and we just keep repeating the same steps until the dough is finished. Now we're going to roll out the balls. For this part, you don't want to roll it out too thick, but you also don't want it to be too thin. Now you can get your ground beef filling, but the key here is to not overfill it. Even though I know it's tempting because the filling is really good, if you put too much inside, the patty can open while it's frying. Now we're gonna use our finger and dip it into the egg mixture, and we're just going to do that around the edges of the dough because this is what is going to help the patties stay sealed together once we are frying. Now I'm folding the dough over the beef filling, and trust me, it does not have to be perfect, just as long as we make sure the meat won't fall out once we are frying. I'm going to adjust the edges, and then I'm going to take a fork and we are going to crimp around the edges of the patty. That crimped edge is one of the most recognizable parts of a patty with all that seasoned meat tucked inside. Now we are ready to fry. We're gonna take each patty and drop them into the hot oil one by one. As it fries, you'll start to see the dough bubble slightly and develop that texture that we are looking for. And after a few minutes, once it's golden on both sides, I'm going to take it out and allow the excess oil to drain, and we're going to leave them rest until it's time for us to taste our Virgin Islands beef pate. Now this is what I call a taste of home. I see that?